Well, hello everybody. Are we all here? I think I am joined by, well, I don't think I know. I am joined by all of Team FearWorm. How are you all doing today?
Great. Hey, Tyler.
So, welcome. This is our first wormhole of season 4, but our last wormhole of this year. And today we're recapping R.I.P. We're post-mortem of 2022. There's a lot to get into, but how are y'all feeling today? It's Friday. It's our
Feeling
mark.
good. Enjoying that new intro there, Tyler. That was the first time.
It may have been. I think the broadcast may have been a little like glitchy on the stream, but it does. Thank you. It does look good. I am very.
Yeah, we'll have to investigate it. Make sure you didn't misspell anything or
Yeah.
something. We have not even seen that. It's like Tyler's debuting it to us live. So
I just made it yesterday.
yeah, well, awesome, awesome. Yeah, excited to be here. It's been a long time since we've done one of these. So the music, kind of get me back in the mode, like wiping away Christmas and like Trans World's 5 weeks away. So we'll, get us in the mode, get us in the spirit. So
For sure. So today we're talking about 2022, the year that was. It's a post-mortem. I think the best thing to do is, Ernest, I'm going to let you take this and kind of
yeah,
start us back at the beginning of the year, like how we were coming into the year around that trans world time period. Where do you like, what do you recall? Oh, by the way, hey, Jake. Hey, Abe. Um, Thanks for tuning in. But Ernest, what do you recall coming into the year and then how it drastically changed within just a couple months?
yeah. And to recap real quick, what we want to talk about today is what we saw 2022, kind of forecast for 2023, and how does 2022, what did we learn from it? What can we expect? How do we use things we expected from 2022? Yeah, beginning of this year was, we were coming off 2021, which was obviously the banner year for haunted attractions. We were one of the only things happening that fall in 2021. People opened up and, we're up 50%, 100%. And there's a little bit of a problem because, some people, not anybody listening, of course, were, just thinking that, man, everybody loves me. I'm just going to, I went from 5,000 people to 12,000 people. And I'm going to have that forever. It's a God given right to have that number of people. But we were coming off a year where people had just been given their $1,200 free check, right? They had free money in pocket, money they didn't pay for. And, nothing to do. Concerts weren't touring that much yet. Things weren't happening, and they were looking for something to do, right? So everybody blew it up. Everybody, had this huge success, and everybody was thinking coming into 2022 that that's the new baseline. That like you went from 5,000 people to 12,000 people, and now I want to grow 10% from 12,000 people, and that's just kind of got to get them right. And so also, hey, I can charge anything I want because nobody complained about ticket prices. So I was charging $25 before. I'm going to charge $50 a ticket now. And then April happened, and everything went to crap. Tyler, Laura, y'all still in there? You seem to be hanging up on us. You getting?
No,
Are
we're
you
here.
live?
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Video's hanging up on my end. Um, the and then April happened, right? And everything fell apart, and inflation went crazy, and that war was going on, and everybody's freaked out about everything. Companies stopped hiring, putting on hiring freezes, and the whole world completely changed in a matter of weeks. What we saw from other businesses is, immediately lead flows dropped, things, went in the toilet, and everybody got broke because all of a sudden your $12 hamburger became an $18 hamburger, with extra for fries, and
A dozen eggs cost like $6 or more. Like
yeah, yeah, it's crazy, right? This 8% inflation myth is crazy because I wish it was 8%. I don't know about you guys, but my propane bill tripled from last winter to this winter. So then we go into the haunt season, and we did our last wormhole we did actually was the July one we did, that said, hey everybody, you're all raising ticket prices, you're all thinking we're going to have this glory from 2022, an automatic repeat. Think real hard about what we should be doing on ticket prices, what you should be offering, we should be looking at this. You may go from $25 to $50 on Saturday, but you sure better have some coupon codes. You better have a cheap Thursday or a cheap Sunday or some kind of alternative, because it's not going to be a gimme this year. And that's what we found out, right? I mean, it ended up better than what it started like, for the season. But yeah, I mean, it was a world of change from the beginning of the year to
That's the thing I
the
think we
season
noticed was that last year, almost every ticket pre-sale, well, every ticket pre-sale was great last year
in
in 20,
2021. You mean?
and then now everybody was broke this year. We're waiting to the absolute last minute. I think a lot of haunt owners could see that in their sales. You know,
Mhm.
um, I think
Especially up front.
yeah, the upfront
It was
sales, the Monday through Wednesday sales are down, but then they start to skyrocket Thursday, and everyone's just buying at the last minute because they don't know if they're gonna have dinner or go to a haunted house. I mean, it was that severe.
yeah. And those like August pre-sales did not go like they did the year before, not even
Right.
close. People were
Yeah.
just they're worried, right? People are worried. So you're holding on as long as you can, holding on to your money as long as you can.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. People were holding on to their money. They were waiting. They knew that they didn't have to get that haunted house ticket or, that ticket to see that movie early. They could wait until the day before or the day of, right? And that was something that came as kind of a shock. I thought it was going to be a great year for early season attendance. We had a lot of really great horror movies, in the theaters and things like that. And I just was looking at that going, man, this is going to be great. And inflation just really hurt everybody. It
I
You
really
know,
mean,
the
the
difference is that, it's something else, Tyler. At the beginning of the year, everybody was freaked out about employees. Were they going to have anybody to work at their event? Right. So we started all these employment campaigns and everybody was worried about staffing. And most people, by the time September got around, staffing was not the problem. Like the restaurants we work with. In March, it was all the people in the world who wanted to eat there and they didn't have enough staff to serve them. Now, restaurant clients I have with my other firm, they're laying off staff because they don't have enough people coming in. So they literally in 6 months' time went from I don't have anybody to laying people off. Just complete.
it's crazy. And to on Laura's note, we did see this influx of like, oh, it was gonna be a great year for horror because there were so many horror movies coming out from that like July through August time period. But I mean, they still came out, but they didn't make any money. I mean, the movie theater business is down so much. I mean, there are several major chains that are filing for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
It's just nobody can go to the movie theaters because nobody has any money. They're not going to pay, that 1850 for a theater ticket to go see Avatar.
The
Even though
growth of the
Avatar costs
horror, the growth
$100.
of the growth of the horror genre is great, though. I think it's
Yeah.
all from Stranger Things.
Mhm.
I would turn on Netflix every single show, every new series. It's like
Yeah.
Wednesday, is the new series, or you have all these kind of things that tip their cap to Stranger Things,
Right.
and it's kids. I mean, it's 10-year-olds. My 11-year-old is crazy about Stranger Things.
Right.
Yeah.
And everybody likes it, so it's affecting all of these other shows, which is good for us. It's really good. That plays into haunted
I
attractions very, very well.
you're very correct. The genre of horror is growing, and that's a great thing
Mhm.
for us. That's a great thing for the haunted house industry, haunted events, Halloween events. The problem I see is that while growing and there's a lot of desire for that entertainment, no one's willing to pay for it.
Mhm.
Netflix stock is down because they released their advertising tier. And instead of attracting new people to Netflix, a lot of people just downgraded. They just don't want to pay for it. Everyone's broke.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's the I don't know the balancing act, I guess, of like horror and the desire and the need, the want for horror content is up, but no one's willing to pay for it because everyone's broke. And
But
so
not just horror,
that's
though.
the
Not
year
just
we had.
Yeah, not just like guts and gore, Conjuring, or something like that horror. It's more like fun horror, right?
Yeah.
Which is Stranger Things and Wednesday,
Sure.
if you've watched that show or that kind of thing, which is great, right? I mean, that's what a haunted attraction is for the most part, or a broader targeting haunted attraction is horror for entertainment's sake rather than for just scaring you.
It
Right.
definitely is more than just horror because I think I'm also seeing a shift just in our culture. It's becoming more widely accepted to be unique and different.
Yeah.
People are really leaning into embracing what people are doing and what they're identifying with, right? So we're just seeing that in TV and movies as well. I mean, it's just kind of across the board, I think. It's now becoming popular to be strange and unusual, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, 11 is cool, I mean,
She
she's got
is. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, that's great. I think that's a great thing for the industry. Also this year, even though you don't think it affects it so much, it was political year. Political years suck. They just suck. They get in the way of everything. It doesn't matter what you're selling, they always get in the way. And this coming year, we got nothing. No Olympics, no World Cup. I guess not. Maybe it's the women's. I don't know what year that is, but you know, no elections, so that's good, right? No distractions. They're just distractions, right? All these things are distractions. The war going on is distractions. The news is distractions. It scares everybody, right? The bad stuff leads on the news, so don't watch the news. But it's because it's consumer perception that really drives everything. It's not how much cash is in their pocket; it's where they think they're going to be. Yeah.
I also think during times, when scary stuff is leading like that in the media and everything, that also can influence consumers to seek out, those stress relieving type of things.
Yeah.
Well, going through a haunted house is such a great way to, experience scary stuff and then let it go upon
Mhm.
exit, right? It's very healthy. I could see people really getting behind that, but they have to know that that exists and they have to know that that's what they'll be getting out of it.
Well, it's escapism. Like, who doesn't want to escape from the everyday news these days?
Yeah.
So
I wanna go somewhere where it's safe to be scary of stuff. I don't want to be in traffic and being scared.
So
You know?
I think a good segue here would be, let's discuss how um event like haunted house is becoming more of the overall like grand event, and how that really was a success for those type of shows this year. I think one thing we all noticed was that if you're a one-off show, you're one attraction, you have no midway, you raise your ticket price, there's no value there. Like the customer perception is just like, why
the
go?
customer perception of the value, it may be the world's greatest attraction in the last 35 minutes and 40
Right.
minutes, but the perception is, what am I getting for my dollar? Where value 2 years ago, when it's not your money buying the ticket, when you got your $1,200 for free, who cares? But this year, I mean, that's kind of a takeaway of what we saw and forecast of what we expect to be increasing is the value, the
Yeah.
total entertainment package value, not just how scary was your attraction. Less people care about that. It's kind of like value is like you could pay $100 for a dinner and they can serve you some tiny little portion and it's the greatest thing you ever ate in your life. So you're happy with the value. Or it can be $5.99, all you can stomach, Golden Corral, and the value is still there because you can eat as much as you can stuff in your face. So
Yep.
it's the value equation. So the value equation for haunted attraction is, was it entertaining? Was it good? Was the haunt good? But I waited in line for 45 minutes and they had all these actors coming out and interacting with us and it was super fun. And I went through one haunt, then I went into this midway and played some games. Then I went through another haunt, then I went to a selfie station for some photos, then this cool merchandising, thing at the end. Got a picture sent to me. I was there for 2.5 hours. I paid $50 and I'm happy I paid the $50.
The Dent Schoolhouse in Cincinnati does it absolutely correct. Like, because it
Okay.
is that scenario you're describing where it's a singular attraction. It's the Dent Schoolhouse, but then they created this amazing midway that you can either hop into before you go into the haunt, or you can exit out of the haunt and go into it. But like you said, they've got the custom food and beverage. It's not just some off the shelf thing. They have made everything unique, the merchandise, the selfie stations, the axe throwing they're doing. I mean, you can stay another hour if you wanted to. If you paid, let's say you paid $30 to get into the haunt, you could probably spend another 50 in the midway and be happy because you're having a great time.
But nobody's going to complain because they spent, $80 a head and they spent 3 or 4 hours, their entire evening there. They ate, they had drinks, they played games, they went home with a prize or bought a t-shirt. And it's this gigantic experience, right? That's the reason. It's not that Universal's haunts are the greatest haunts out there, but you also got to ride roller coasters and you went to the haunt, right? So the value becomes this big thing. So I talk about value equation a lot with restaurants, and it's really anything with entertainment, right? You go to a ball game, minor league ball game. You pay $14 to get in and you watch baseball, which half people are bored of. But it's not all that. It's also the entertainment on field and between the innings and the popcorn and the sodas and the catching a baseball and everything else. And you put it all together, and the value equation is it's really good value, and you spend $35, right? Same thing with the haunted attractions. Now, you can be the greatest event and have that recognition of it, like, wow, this is best event ever. Come here, pay the money. But man, you kind of get beat by the guy who's got all that Dent Schoolhouse type attitude. And we saw that this year more. And you guys, Laura and Tyler, went to Dent, so you guys saw that firsthand.
Yeah.
Even if there's a lesser haunt down the road, if their perceived value is greater, that haunt is going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up Dent. I feel like something that they did that really impressed me, and this does have to do with the Monster Midway that they have, but it's almost like they have it down to a science. You exit the haunt, you get into it, there's lots of little things for you to do for free. So that's just kind of subconsciously adding to the value of that experience with your consumer. They're getting back into that comfortable space. They're letting off those, nervous feelings that they've had. They're having fun. They're walking through these little free museum experiences, taking pictures. And then when you get through that whole experience, at the very end is their merch booth. So by the time that consumer gets to the end, they've got so much more perceived value in your event, and they're ready to spend more money. It was
So let's talk about merch, right? That's another thing that we had a number of events that we work with really step up their game on merchandise this year.
Mhm.
And even in a down year, they did great on merchandise sales. Like
Many
people,
clients
that could even be tying back to think of the Stranger Things kind of thing. I want the t-shirt. I want the hat. I want to show everybody off. I want to look, I'm into that stuff, right? It's a lifestyle thing, but we talked about like the value of that. And that's a 2023 forecast thing as well. They're like, if you ain't selling t-shirts and hats and everything else, then you're leaving money on the table.
Yeah, I mean, there was several clients and other haunts that I've heard from that said it was their merchandise and some of the other midway stuff, but the merch really is what saved them this year from having a profitable year, having a flat year, or having that down year. Like, it was the thing that really saved them.
Yeah, and when we're talking about merch here too, for most of our clients, we're not just talking about the stuff you put your logo on. We're not just talking about the t-shirts and things like that. We also had several clients that started implementing other things that they could sell in their store, little candles, and there were different horror related items, right? We always talk about kind of making our clients like the Halloween expert in the industry. When somebody thinks of Halloween, we want them to think of that specific haunt. And so they really expanded. Brighton Asylum, they sell those purge masks that kind of light up, and they have the
Dark
neon
Dark
sheet.
Hour sells bath bombs. I mean, they sell
Right.
like the little horror Halloween bath bombs. I mean, and
Yes.
they sold out of them. Like, people want that stuff.
Yeah. And
Well, you think about it, we spend $100,000 a year on some haunt to advertise it year after year after year. You got $1 million invested in your market, making your name known. Why not sell something else? Sell a t-shirt off of it, sell a bath bomb, sell a whatever. You've built the brand, right? You've
sure.
built the brand. So go, capitalize on it. And why not? You're not stealing from people. They want to part with their money to buy that stuff. So, and then they come home and they're reminded about your event, so it's win, win, win.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there were people who made six figures. I mean, clients we had made six figures in merch sales this year. Makes a big difference on the bottom line when you add an extra $5 to $10 per head on average that came through the door because of merch.
Yeah.
And I
In
think
fact, one client, Midnight Terror, this year was like, yeah, I really need to expand my merch. Like, he came out of this year learning like he needs to do more.
I think they did well with what he had, right?
They did. They had some really cool, even like handmade, like little creepy, crafty, like really unique things that you can't find anywhere else. So I thought that was really cool when I got to go visit Midnight Terror.
Yeah, one thing we have to kind of mention too when thinking about kind of what value can you add to your experience, how can you keep people there spending money and stuff like that is, I mean, not every attraction has really great parking solutions. You
Mhm.
know, some haunts have a very limited parking space, and those are the ones that are going to struggle trying to keep the people there because they don't want to keep the people
Well, they
there.
got to get rid of them.
Yeah, they need for them to leave. So maybe start thinking about what other parking solutions are there that you can have. You know,
We got a number of people that are using busing systems that's become part of the experience, right? With
yes,
Fear Factory, it's part of the experience. You want to get on the bus, you want to have fun. It makes the experience an hour longer
yes,
in full, so it just becomes this big event. Not everybody can do that too, right? I mean, it all depends on the park. I mean, parking is one of the biggest issues that almost everybody has. A lot of people have. And the people who don't have enough parking is like, get them out the door as fast as you can. So maybe that doesn't work, but then consider busing, consider
yeah.
some other kind of solution.
An offsite parking solution, you know, I think the bus is such a great mention. You can make it creepy. You can have a character driving it. You can be
Mhm.
playing kind of creepy music to get them in the mood. I mean, there's so many
Yeah,
people
do
love a
horror
party bus.
trivia on the bus, hosted by a zombie, or whatever, it's those are all
Absolutely.
fun things. So thinking about that, like we were talking about, and that's probably the biggest takeaway this year is not just about pricing or whatever, but that value beats a down economy and value beats pricing fears, right? And value does not mean cheaper. Value is how much did I pay and how much did I feel I got out of it? Not how much you really get out of it. How much did I feel that I got out of it? What did I walk away with? What was my impression? And I would say that's a great thing for people to look at Transworld this year. Like go to the event and be thinking about not just what's the cool mask, but where could this go? Where could this go? How does this expand my event? Food and beverage. Food and beverage 5 years ago, barely anybody was touching it, and it wasn't that big a deal. Or especially with alcohol sales, everybody was being really worried about it. We got a lot of people adding that in really successfully. Again, if you have the parking and you can have people spend the time there or whatever. Um, the but food and bev, especially interesting stuff, not just the hot dog stand. Theme it, make it fun. But food and beverage, the midways, which midway is
Real quick on that note, before I'll let you continue, Ernest. We have a wormhole all about food and beverage on the FearWorm page. So if you
Mhm.
just scroll back through some of our videos, we have a whole wormhole where that's the only topic and how you can make that a big part of your event and how that attracts more people and keeps people coming back.
Who was the
Yeah.
guest on that, you guys?
Tina Griffith, and she is a leader and an educator. She goes to IAP every year. She's teaching. Food and beverage is her home, and she's definitely a leader in that space. So we were so lucky to have her to get her on a wealth of information in food and beverage in that wormhole. We'll have to link that here in the chat for you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. So, food and bev is big. The midway, like you guys were talking about Dent, but you said there were some like things you could pay to play. And there was also some like freebie stuff, right? So kind of a mix of the two, which is again, more value, do something, but then have pay $2 to, throw the dart or whatever it is, or $5. And prizes, right? That could be another thing. Oh, I'm going to do the ring toss because I want to win the giant, whatever, Stay Puff Marshmallow Man or whatever it is,
So I'm going to interrupt here because I know typically we will save questions for the end, but this was a great question I want to bring in right now. And this is from our friend Tater. Everybody knows Tater. And so he's basically says, have you ever been to a haunt and wanted to buy the merch, but the merch selection was so terrible that you left without it? If so, as a marketing team, do you try to work with that haunt to make it better? Simple answer is yes. We oftentimes will consult with clients, even provide vendor leads to like where can I buy the necklaces or the knickknacks, the t-shirts, the blinky cups and mugs. And then we'll go further down the road to where we'll even help you design like the t-shirt, the artwork that's on the pieces. So yes, we as a team
and then
we
also build the store.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Or at
Yeah.
least we know somebody that can build the store for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that's really unique about FairWorm is, we have clients all across the country, And often, we'll learn something in this market or that market, and we'll see this success here or there, and then be able to learn and adapt and apply that in other areas. And that's kind of what we're doing with merch too, but I have to say, Tater, if you saw some bad merch, let us know who that was. I'm wanting to know.
But other things like queue lines, right? Which people have been doing that successfully forever. Make that fun. Don't make it a problem. We were talking to one client about how to expand it, and he didn't have a lot of room, and there was a trail from the parking lot to the attraction. So we were saying, okay, what can we do in that walk? What do we do in that little walk through the woods? How do we make it creepy? How do we make it fun? Just think about those kind of opportunities, and there's also, if you have the space, right, the laser tags and the axe throwing and those are all still fun things, like as an axe throwing thing, I would probably never just say, I'm going to go down to the axe throwing facility, but I probably would add it on if I was already there, right? Already at the attraction.
And it doesn't have to be the full length axe throwing game or experience. I mean, you can just it's $5 or $10. It's 5 minutes just to throw some axes. Done. Get them in, get them out.
Or just, whatever your facility lends itself to, right? What else can you do? Because everybody's like, oh, what's a transfer? Well, come up with your own thing. What else is fun? It could be cornhole. It could be, whatever game you want to come up with, right? But just make it fun. But anyway, I would say that's kind of what did we learn this year, and what do we really want to hammer home is this value prop, and what can you do to add to it? And it seems like merchandising is not a value proposition, but it is. We found that it really is. It makes you more money, but it's also just increases that experience. I mean, go to Disney, every ride ends in a shop with things themed for that shop. And then it's part of the experience, whether you buy it or not. You get off the pirate ride, and then you go into a pirate shop and you look at all the pirate stuff before you move along,
Yeah. And I think, so kind of leaving from this topic, I think maybe the last thing we should talk about when we were reflecting back of this year is just how important the power of your brand is. How heritage events that are well known, that have been around forever, are the ones that did the best.
Yeah.
So again, Ernest, take it away.
Yeah. So, when in tough times, people tend to gravitate back to the brands they already know and trust. If you used to go out and eat every weekend, you went out to dinner, then you'd go try the new restaurant. If you're only going out once a month, you're going to go get your favorite, right? And you're going to make sure you're going to like it. It's the same thing. If you're only going to one event this year, if you're choosing one thing to do, you're going to go to the brand you know and trust that's already branded. We did find that the heritage events, for the most part, did better than new events this year. Some still even grew over 2021. And that speaks to, well, heritage events, they're heritage for a reason. They're good, right? They're in good facilities, good people, good actors, good owners. But that brand thing just wins every time, right? So what does that tell you? Build the snot out of your brand. And instead of just, which we say all the time, there's other agencies out there that are like, it's ROI only. What dollar did you spend, and how many dollars can you attribute specifically to that dollar? Which I'm always like, yeah, that's super important. But how much did you make overall? Because who cares what you made on that dollar? It's like, oh, I made $1 million overall, but I couldn't attribute it. It's like, take your $1 million, cash it out, and lay in it like a bet, right? I mean, it's money. Go make your money. But when you make that brand strong, you don't have to worry about the day-to-day, how many tickets am I going to sell, and what competition is coming in. Build the brand. Something else we saw is that the events that we promoted earlier may have not sold a lot of tickets earlier, but they seem to do better overall. Our Fear All Year clients that we were doing social all year long, because we were ahead of our competition. We had already planted that seed in the mind. So when tickets went on sale, people were ready for it, right? And maybe that's built, maybe that Fear All Year and doing these things all year is really just more of, I'm making my brand stronger, so that's why I win. But
Fear All Year too is about, finding creative and fun ways to be entertaining and present, during times where you don't have any other competition. Your competition might be something that's out of the industry, or, some other event, some concert, something like that. Maybe something else they may be paying attention to. But it's also a way to kind of cultivate and really grow that super fan type of audience, the people that just really love your brand. That's definitely one of the reasons I think those events were more successful.
So let's talk. I want to talk about a couple other things, some of the things we learned this year and how do they apply. Let's talk about timing of like advertising and stuff. You know how we pushed everything really early this year, but the first weeks were the lightest weeks, and the later we got into the season, then everything really took off again. I would say I would not err to say, well, maybe we shouldn't run so many ads so early next year. Maybe we should hold that budget, because the events, we still ran the ads earlier. They still smoked it the last 3 weeks. It didn't matter because you had already like built the knowledge, built the reach and frequency. So I would not err and say, oh, I better hold a bunch of my budget for that last weekend. I don't know what you guys think about that, but
I would agree. And I think it really also depends on the haunt and the power of their brand.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, it's true.
if you're Penhurst Asylum, you're probably good, to not hold the budget for later. You're going to be, like you said, you're going to be smoking at the end of the season anyways.
Mhm.
But if you're a newer haunt, or you're a haunt that's in the middle of nowhere, or you're just not that heritage level, you're not a well-branded haunt, yeah, maybe just have that budget be more level out throughout the season. I know, like you said, Ernest, we kind of came in like a little front loaded with a lot of
Mhm.
stuff. Um, but I think that is a lesson of just re-examining the brand of the haunt, and maybe having that influence how budgets are spent throughout the calendar.
Mhm.
I think the one note that I would have on this subject would be the things that I would reserve budget for, and I would start talking about sooner, would be kind of those end of the season, or those special type of events that you do, those special nights at your haunt. We have
Mhm.
some clients that have like Midnight Terror has Clown Takeover. That's at the end of their season. Instead of doing like a blackout event like some or most haunts do, they just basically everything in there, the clowns take over. Everybody's a clown. The promotions of that event, maybe talking about that a little bit sooner, putting something boosted out there just a little bit sooner. So for your blackout events, your special one-offs, Brighton Asylum does like Slasher Thursdays. It's really unique and different. Don't be afraid to talk about that maybe a little bit sooner. And I think that's something that we'll be thinking about too next year. It's one of those things, like you're so focused on selling the haunt tickets, and you're really not thinking about that last week, or maybe that one Thursday, whatever it is. Let's
Or
switch that.
or you're not thinking about how I can bring people back out. Because like I'm a big fan of the like in season one-off special events like Brighton Asylum. Like he doesn't hold Slasher Thursdays to after October 31st. Nope, they're in season. And so it's a great opportunity for people to come back in October for a one night special event on like a Thursday, and then it flips right back over to the normal haunt on Friday.
I think
That's
this
a strong proposition for a lot of haunted attractions.
it absolutely is, and I think this is something where there's also an opportunity here for an upsell. Maybe you've
Mhm.
got it where they've purchased a ticket. Well, you're already coming. Hey, here, come to this special night. Also, go ahead and get your ticket now and save 20% or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And I think people might be more prone to go ahead and just buy that sooner, if you let them know that it's available and give them that incentive. So these are things we're
Well, let's
definitely.
talk about pricing and how that affects that too, right? Everybody went up on prices this year. I don't think everybody can go up again next year. I think that would be a big
Gotta
mistake.
come down.
Start seriously thinking about, if you need $65 for Saturday night, 55 for Sunday, 45 or 40 for Thursday or something. Just give people an option. Because if you say, well, it's $65, for this, and people are like, oh my God, you're ripping people off. But hey, that's because that's when it's so busy. But Thursday nights are buy one, get one. night. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. You have the option of going in off season, right? I mean, if you wanted to go skiing right now, well, you couldn't fly there, number one, but the lift tickets cost $50 more a day than they do next week. But you had to go this week, so you're going to pay. That's just the way it goes, right? The plane tickets are 3 times what they would be in a week. That's how things work. It's how the world works. So as long as you do that, you're not screwing people over. You're giving them the option. You can have the choice to pay 65, or you can get 2 for 1 on Thursday. So just do that, build it in, and maybe hold some money for those deals. We did an awful lot of last minute deals this year that were actually really successful. We're pretty successful on, don't you think, on some of these last minute deals we did. And sometimes we even had some clients that were surprised how successful they were when things weren't going as well as they thought. We threw some Friday deal out there and boom, it worked, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think our team's really good at maybe, like jumping in at the last minute. It's Monday. What is something we can put together that runs through Thursday, and then Friday is just normal, what have you, business. Yeah, those were very successful,
Yeah.
especially in like we've talked about, especially in an economy where people are strapped for cash. And if you've got a $50 hunt ticket, but your perceived value isn't there, I mean, it's even more critical to
Mhm.
to do these things. I think
Yeah.
it's one thing to charge that much money to go through an event if the value is there or the perceived value is there or greater. You know, Disney World charges $140 a day just to go, but
Mhm.
it's Disney. Like they can charge that, the value is there. You're getting all the things you want out of that. If you're a singular haunted house and you got nothing else, no merch, no shop, no special events, nothing, and you're going to charge, $40, $50 a head, nope, that's a quick way out of business.
Yeah. Yeah. So, forecasting this year, it's not going to be, the economy is going to suck. I mean, I don't know, going down. We saw the big hit on the stock market. It's come back up quite a bit. I think the numbers I saw was a 2.3 GDP growth outlook, which is lower than this year. And that's actually the next 2 years is what they're expecting. But that's okay as long as it's not so rocky, right? Because if you feel like, oh well, I didn't get fired, so I guess I'm okay. Not getting rich, but okay, right? That's okay. So yeah, Rich Gonchi just said I expect similar crowds. I do too. I said I would too. You're going to have to get your unfair share of the entertainment pie, right? And you talk about, so the total dollars spent on entertainment are down. You got to get a bigger slice. And then I'm not saying the total amount of haunt attractions. I don't. That's the biggest mistake in the world, thinking that we're only competing against other haunted houses. We are competing for the entertainment dollar: movies, concerts, pizzas, bowling, all of it. We're competing for Friday night entertainment dollars. So get your unfair share. How do you do it? Create those extra events. Get somebody to come back twice. Do the merchandise. Get the person who was on the fence that couldn't afford it by doing a cheaper Thursday. It takes a whole bunch of things. It's not just open up your doors 2021. Everybody's got free money and they're all coming in, So that's what it's going to take, because it's not going to be that robust. And there's going to be a lot of people. It's not, oh, well, nobody's going to advertise now because the economy's worse. Actually, for entertainment dollars and stuff, it increases. Like our restaurants all just increase their budgets with me for my other firm, even though they're not doing as well. Why? Because they're competing for that dollar now. It's not free. It's not a gimme. So you do have to compete for it. It's harder to get the people in the door.
To go back to the analogy of the movie theaters, this was such a horrible year for movie theaters because, one, not the economy to just wreck them, but two, there was not a lot of inventory, meaning not a lot of movies came out this year.
Mhm.
You would go several weeks or even months with no new movies, and that was because of the pandemic, with movie production shutting down, things like that. Next year is not the same. Next year,
Mhm.
there's a new movie every week or two, like a
Mhm.
major tentpole movie every week, every 2 weeks. So it's a
Yeah.
lot. Now,
Because
like
they
now,
make the movies 2 years ahead of time, right?
yeah,
So 2 years ago we were in pandemic, so they weren't
right.
making them. So yeah. But anyway, other things forecast and talking about, I know we want to get to questions too, but what about media, Tyler? Let's talk about like what worked, what advertising, what media worked this year.
This year, the big standouts. I mean, of course, we have the usuals. The usual suspects. Like Google was great. We saw a lot of traction, more so than most years on Google. we continue to get better at that. We continue to be the leader in in Google advertising, Google marketing for this industry. And
Yeah, it was really better. I mean, our results were the best we ever had on Google, but maybe it's because our targeting is getting better. And,
yeah,
we're figuring out every little thing you can
yeah.
do.
I also think that's also because people are now more trained because of the pandemic to go search for something first. So just search in general has grown. The next thing was Spotify. Spotify crushed it this year.
Which was surprising, right? We've been doing it for years and years. Like
I
all of a
know we
sudden,
had a fear. I know there was like a slight fear of like, well, now that everyone's back to work, now that like the pandemic is kind of, I mean, it's still here, but like everything's just kind of ended. All the regulations and rules and stuff has ended. Um, is Spotify is radio going to start to tick back in? Like terrestrial radio, or is Spotify still going to hold its crown over music and listening and things like that? And it certainly did. We had the like higher frequencies than ever before, higher list I can't say view through, but like listen rates,
yeah.
higher impressions, higher reach. I mean, it was insane.
And
How well,
click-throughs.
Yeah,
And
I was
click-throughs.
gonna say.
yeah, that, and which is like always surprising for me. Like I always tell clients, because Spotify is not a click based platform. People want to listen to music while they're in the car, while they're working out, while they're working. They're not really like active with the app. They just want to listen. So it's really not a click based platform. So I always tell clients to get one click out of it is great. But to have clients get hundreds of
Thousands.
clicks out of
Yeah.
it, thousands of clicks, it was
Yeah.
insane. Like I could not believe it. And
Yeah.
so Spotify was really for us the big surprising winner of the year.
Yeah. Well, you have, besides Spotify, you have this fragmentation of online audio. Like we do the Audio Go, which allows us to buy Pandora plus iHeart plus all those, I don't know, your podcasters, all of that. But it's split up over so many billions of places that you never really know what your reach and frequency is, where Spotify is one central place that still has a lot of people. So you're able to get the reach and frequency you need that you can't buy with radio anymore. You can't get any frequency on it. So yeah, that was definitely successful. What about on the social end? What did you guys see?
So social media, I mean, we kind of varied our start dates with everything, but we noticed some top performing, of course, video, right? Video was definitely a hard hitter. That's pretty consistent. One thing I have been looking at is, I mean, a lot of people, the majority of people, you really are only getting them for about 3 seconds. I noticed a significant drop in views and engagement and things after that 3-second mark of video. So what that tells us is, it you don't really need the longer form video, and the shorter videos, put more of your money in those. Have the long form video if you want, and people that want that will come and find it, but the shorter videos were working so much better. After 15 seconds, I mean, the view throughs, the engagement, everything just dropped. I mean, just above zero. Like the data was telling us that if you had anything over 15 seconds, a large amount of people were just not even watching it.
So do your long video, have it somewhere where the really interested person can click through specifically to watch it, but they ain't going to watch it on Facebook or Instagram. It's not going to happen.
Right. And I think too that also tells you where you can spend your time, because I think video creation, video editing, all of that stuff takes so much time, right? Creative production. So maybe just focus on doing something a little shorter than 15 seconds and really free up some of your time,
Or
have
do your long video, but then make a whole bunch of cuts, a whole bunch of 5-second cuts,
Yes, absolutely. And
to
I
keep
think
your
also
content fresh, keep it, fresh.
right,
And that logo better be on there the second they hit, right? I mean, like
right,
everything
absolutely.
right up
And
front.
lead with something really compelling, something with great looking colored light, something that's very striking, to really capture them in that first 3 seconds.
And TikTok, when you look at TikTok, because it's so important, but maybe it'll just go away, so we don't have to deal with it. But like, was it TikTok that or maybe it was Instagram Reels or something, that our top performing video was a video that somebody accidentally ran into a wall and fell down or something like
Oh,
that? It's like,
Yes.
Like people, they just want to look at funny. They just want to look at goofy, right? Not necessarily
So
professional.
I absolutely have to give props to Dark Hour Haunted House on that one. Robert from their team, sneaks into the haunted house and records these videos, right, of people on the inside. And this lady just almost like frantically, she's trying to get away from something, bam, straight into a 4x8. And it's just people loved it and they watched it over and over and over. And that stuff really does well. I have to say, in the TikTok realm, I've seen things do well. I've also been very frustrated with TikTok. And I think, if you're spending too much time on TikTok and you're really not getting the performance out of it, you're getting your audios deleted and your videos covered up with that censorship, right? We've all seen it. Like, do you want to see this content or not? We're protecting you from it. It's too scary. If you're battling a lot of that on TikTok, lean into another social platform. You don't have to be present across the board on everything. And if you're just not getting the performance, lean into something else. There's
Yeah,
also
wherever you are, be there, right? Just do a good
yeah,
job of what you do instead of trying to do
absolutely.
everything.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I was going to mention on digital video, because video is king, is that the interesting thing this year is going to be the play on these streaming services and what happens and where we're able to advertise. So Disney has the advertising tier now, Netflix advertising tier, Paramount, Peacock. Basically, they're all going that way, right? Hulu you can advertise on, of course, because there's no reason really to have cable anymore except for sports. Even the CNNs and Fox News have like $1.50 a month for an app, so just get the app, right? But nobody's going to subscribe to 10 different apps at $15 a piece, so you have to go to the advertising tier. I went down to the advertising tier on Disney, and it's awful. It's so many ads and so obtrusive. But I'm not going to pay $20 a month for Disney and 15 for HBO and whatever you're going to pick, and everybody's going to have their mix. The great thing is the wealth of advertising opportunity we're going to have. How about running ads during Stranger Things or Wednesday or something like that to an audience 14 to 34 that likes horror movies, that's picked in the zip codes that you want to run to? It's fantastic. Like Disney, running on Disney for young audiences and those things.
That might be tricky.
Yeah, that's true. But well, you could just age target on it though.
Yeah.
It's about the best advertising source we could hope for. It's basically TV in its glory day, but today. So and we hoped that would happen by this last season, and basically the services didn't get it together in time, but I think they will by this coming season. They're still too expensive right now because there's not enough volume on it. There's not enough ads. So I think it's like $60 1,000 for Disney or something like that. But that should go down significantly for this year. So that's a biggie that I see as an opportunity for us.
I know we're approaching an hour, but there was another thing that was a really big success for us this year. This is where I want to bring in Tashana and let her talk about our email marketing, because that's another thing that just crushed it for the clients that we did that for.
Mm-hmm.
So Tashana, take it away. I know we got some examples. We're actually going to show you all some emails we created that were highly successful. So you'll get to see some like right now.
Yes. So one thing I did this year for all of our email clients is kind of redesign their email templates to make them more graphic heavy and less copy heavy. So bigger graphics, bolder graphics, really just getting the most important information out there. So yeah, this one you can see for the Dead End Hayride. The one on the left is from last year, and then the one on the right is from this year. So really just getting the most important information out there in a nice laid out graphic, and then linking to where all the rest of the information is, where you can get tickets, all of that. I think that those emails did the best this year, click-wise. So that's something that I'm definitely going to be doing more of next year, more animations and things like that. Actually, one of the emails that did the best click-wise this year had like barely any information. You had to click on the thing in the email. So this one for Midnight Terror for their clown takeover did really, really well. Just says click here for a special message, and then it links to a video. But this one, it caused a huge spike in their open rate for emails.
How do you not click on that? It's just so
right. Right, exactly. So that was definitely a big takeaway, that maybe sometimes in emails, less information is more, get people interested and then link them to where the rest of the information is.
And you'd think they don't work, but man, we had some killer open rates on emails. Yeah.
I
We
thought for
really,
a second when I clicked it that it would in your all's window, because I was only screen sharing the one tab. I thought I was going to
mm,
open it up in that tab. It did not. But what happens is when you click to it, it links you to a Facebook video of Ozo the Clown at Midnight Terror with a special message, and so it kind of brings you back to your social media page. So that's why I was sorry you didn't see that. I thought I was going to show it. I guess I
yeah,
didn't.
yeah. But yeah, and even in cases where the open rates weren't as great, really doing a good hygiene on the email list really helped with that. Cleaning out people who haven't opened or clicked an email in a long time, that really helped to move the needle on the open rates as well. So definitely some good takeaways there for the season.
To Shauna, and apologies if I didn't catch it because I was in that other tab for that emailer. But
Mhm.
what would you say was our average open rate? For everyone.
It's really across the board. I would say that most people were in between like the 20 to 40%, which is really, really good. Of course, we had some that were under and over, but yeah, most people were in the 20 to 40% range, which is
I mean, it
excellent.
used to be 20% was seen as fantastic,
Right.
which has dropped to more like 10 or 12% overall.
Right. If
That's
you're getting
where,
to 10% at this point, you're doing pretty good. So it was really cool to see that we had people at almost 40% open rate.
yeah. Yeah. They want that info at that point.
Yeah.
They're asking you for more info, which is
The
And
super.
then,
interest was there. People were
yeah,
opening. You better have the
Exactly.
value. You better have the right price. Like
Right.
everything else had to line up.
Well, especially at the beginning of the season too, or even pre-season, if you haven't been in their inbox in a few months, actually the open rates were best in like July, August, if we're doing like preseason deals and stuff like that. That's really when you want to lead strong, is preseason, because people haven't thought about you, and then they get that email and they're like, oh, that's right, hunt season is coming. So
Fall's
they're
coming up.
excited. Yeah, they're excited to get that email. So yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, that was another like huge success for us this year. That was a little, I won't say surprising, but like it was like, oh wow. Like I guess the surprising thing was that for us, looking at the grand spectrum of things, was that the interest of people were there, but so many like a lot of people were they just didn't have the money to go to haunted houses.
Mhm.
yeah,
Well, like reviews for our haunts were really great this year. Like people still enjoyed it. It's not doom and gloom, right? It's like there's still a
Mhm.
lot of people that really loved it.
yeah,
And a lot of places and a lot of people didn't get complaints necessarily about the money. The event was worth it. It's just harder, right? It's just going to be harder than previous. And
yeah,
as every year, the new rule that happens all the time, every month in advertising these days, regardless what you're promoting, is be ready to pivot, because everything's just totally changing all the time. Just be ready to change, be ready to
yeah.
pivot.
I found on social media too, like in the areas where we did have people kind of in the comments complaining about price, things like that. There were some cases where brand advocates that have been engaging with the page, for a while at this point, would jump into the comments and were actually like almost selling the ticket for you. Like, and I would kind of watch these comments and I'm like, man, these super fans are awesome, and I saw it a lot on the pages that they do their social media year round. So
Mhm.
there's definitely value in that. I definitely am looking forward to what we can bring for our Fear All Year clients next year. It's just great seeing customers start selling your tickets for you. That's when you know you've made it, I think.
So we're going to run out of time. I'm not sure if we have questions. There's a million good comments here, but I'm not sure if there's a bunch of questions on the side or not.
I think now's a great time that if someone does have a question, go ahead and start
Yeah, absolutely.
dropping it below. And I know because the last thing I want to touch on before we get to those questions, but go ahead and start dropping them, is we were talking about looking ahead to next year. Some things we're seeing that will continue, some things will hopefully get better, but there's some things that are happening literally right around the corner in like 30 days. And so I think now is a good time to talk
Yeah.
about trans.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So next year is an exciting time for FearWorm. It is our 10th anniversary. as a company. 10 years of FearWorm. And we're going to be celebrating that at Transworld and really any other thing that we do throughout the year. With that, of course, we have the City Museum. And so we're sponsoring that party. We have been the last couple years. We absolutely love it. It's a great time. Um, I know. Can
Can we
Laura,
talk about that?
when do we have Jen on from Transworld?
So that should be, I think it's actually Friday the 13th when we're doing our Transworld episode, which is going to be fun, right? Because it's a Friday the 13th, but we're all gearing up for Transworld. I'm sure they'll have some exciting news for us. I know we have some news. Do we want to go ahead and share some of the cool things we have going on?
I know one thing you're thinking of. I don't want to talk about that yet. The other thing, though, and I think this might get Ernest excited, was that we're having a special dinner that is for clients only. Invite only. If you're a client, please be with us at Rosalita's Cantina. It's right there on Washington. It's just like a block or two down from the convention center. That's going to be a good time. That's Saturday night before the costume ball. I think it's
It's like
like
6
5:30.
o'clock, right?
Yeah, it's like 6 to 7:30 or 5:30 to 7. I can't remember.
I think
But
it's like 2.5 hours or something. I think we
yeah,
have there. Yeah, but that's clients. We have the whole upstairs reserved, and it'll be full, meal, open bar, everything on me. But it
everything
doesn't
on
mean
Ernest.
everybody that's listening here gets to go. Sorry, it's an invite only, but that is a client thing. We did a small version of it last year and had a great time, so we want to
Yeah.
redo it.
Yeah. Anytime you can get different people from different markets in the same room, and this is part of what makes Transworld so great, right? The learning and the inspiration that begins to happen just from making those connections. So I have to say, we're also very excited about Transworld. We definitely have a seminar we're going to be teaching at Transworld, so we'll have to share that.
We have the time on that. That's Saturday at 10:15 or 10:45.
I think it's 10:15. Let me just
Yeah,
look real quick.
I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
10:15 to
10:15 on.
11:15.
And that's
Yes.
the freebie seminar. It's a freebie.
Yes, it's free. So you can go ahead and start your Saturday morning off right, bring a coffee, and learn about what you can do with your marketing.
Bonus points if you bring Laura a coffee.
Free.
Ernest,
It's funny that he thinks I won't already have a coffee. Are you really wanting to give me more
Bring
than
me
one
my third
coffee?
coffee.
Yeah.
right. But that is a free seminar
Yes.
on Saturday from 10:15 to 11:15. Laura, did you want to say the title of what
Yeah,
we'll be talking
sure.
about?
So basically, the title is Record-Breaking Marketing Strategies to Supercharge Your Event Success. And that sounds exciting, right? Record-breaking. But what we're diving into there is something that we've been noticing, especially from some of our top-tier clients, when they approach to hire an agency. They're struggling with this similar issue. We've seen it with multiple, and it's this attendance plateau. They have just hit a wall with their attendance. They can't get any more people to come. They're getting the same number. So they've got like this stalemate. And they're just like, we're doing okay. We're doing great. We're doing all of these things. What can we do to supercharge that? What can we do to break that plateau? So we're going to be, just kind of pulling back the curtain and showing some of the things that we've done for these clients.
And also not even just the big ones that are like, I'm at 50 and I want to get to 70, right? Or they're actually at 50 and they want to get to 52. Like, how do we get there? But the small guy I'm at 3,200 people every year. I've done this for 3 years in a row. I've never gotten any bigger. That's only 1% of my population. How do I get more? How do I get my unfair share? Right? Is it strategies for broadening the scope of what you're targeting, for broadening your age group, for reaching people more uniquely, for standing out better, for increasing your geographic target area, finding new audiences, creating special nights that bring extra people in that make them come twice, So there's strategies that are both for the smaller, newer event, as well as the one that's been around for 10 years and is stuck from getting ahead. And I'd say that's one of the most common questions we ever get when people come up to us is, I'm at this number, I can't get to the next.
And I think during that seminar too, I think the Q&A at the end is going to be really great because I feel like we're going to get a good mix of different sizes of attractions in that room. and then they're going to be asking these questions, and that's almost one of my favorite parts too, is when you get to kind of individually help those people. So we're definitely looking forward to our seminar. I know we actually have a few
Well,
good questions here.
one second here. Again, that is a free seminar on Saturday at 10:15 in the morning to 11:15 at Transworld. We will see you there. But yes, let's get to these questions. And I want to start off with Anthony Cooper.
Yeah.
He's asking, what's the most successful midway games in your opinion? And to me, the simple answer is any game that makes money for a client. But me personally, I like
Someone went to
I like
business
the
college.
I like the whack-a-mole. Like I don't know why, because it's aggressive and I can like hit things. But that's like probably my favorite thing.
Well, that's your favorite, but what's successful? I have no idea. That's a good question for like Bud or somebody. I don't know what
I mean,
makes
I know
money.
like axe throwing is successful. You
Yeah.
know, I think a lot of people will have the mini like little 5-minute escape room things. I think those are successful. Um, photo ops are successful, but those are usually free. Um, yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I've not seen a whole lot of like games other
Somebody
than
should do a basketball toss, but it's a head, like the
they
basketballs.
do. They do.
Do they? Okay.
I have seen
Already
that at Transworld. Yeah, I've seen it on the floor.
okay. Never mind. Somebody's
Um,
ahead of me.
Yeah, I've seen some fun things to kind of implement in your midways, definitely in the dark zone, right? I think there's usually some things in that zone of Transworld to kind of find. I don't know. I feel like maybe we could even have a wormhole episode where we kind of focus on midway. I would love to bring Bud from Dent, maybe his team, right? There's definitely other people in this industry that would be a wealth of knowledge when it comes to that. That is a great question, and maybe we should explore that later.
Abe wants more skee ball.
Yeah. Here's another question for everyone from Aaron. It's like, I know you mentioned established brands had an easier time attracting market share this year. Are there any specific tactics or way for a newer haunt or a haunt looking to open this year to stand out in the same market?
Well,
So
new haunt number one, don't get too aggressive on your pricing, because that could be a way to get a good intro into the market as being $25 instead of $45. I'm not saying just buy your new haunt, be cheap, but make it accessible, and do something to stand out, right? The fear worm, the song, the creepy, the specific character, there's something that grabs that attention, right? Because you're going to have to break through. You probably don't have the $100,000 first year in to spend, so you better do something that cuts through, and don't try to buy every single advertising medium out there. Do something and do it well.
I actually would suggest here kind of leaning into community. And I feel like, explore what partnerships you might be able to have with the different brands in your area. Could you get characters out there and do some appearances for pictures and stuff at some wine walk that's happening in your community or something? Like, really look around and where is your market going to be, and be there and be present, and in a fun and entertaining way. Be memorable. Get people taking pictures of your character and putting it on social media and things like that. And I think anytime you can kind of align with a brand that is already successful in your market, that your target market loves as well, such a great opportunity for you. So I would say lean into your community for sure.
Start immediately if you're a new haunt, day one, with a rock solid, defined, good brand and branding, and just don't ever let up on that, because then before you know it, your brand will overtake any other competition in that market. All
Well,
great
it doesn't
points.
have a good brand.
I'd also have to say too, like, consider your icon character and really lean into that and have that attached to your brand. Look at some of the bigger brands, like, you've got Blood Prison, and Warden's Widow, right? People really attach themselves to these characters and they remember them. Think about your icon character. What kind of a haunt are you? What kind of a character would that be? And how can you make them memorable and captivating? And then just put them in everything.
Hey, Laura. So Chris asked, "What's your favorite memory from everything you did in 2022?" I
Oh,
have one
yeah.
favorite memory,
I was
and
gonna
it's that.
save that for the last, Ernest.
Oh, were you? Okay, never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Let's do the other ones.
I love that one.
Well, real quick, we have Sherry here.
Yeah.
She says that we have a pumpkin farm with a haunted trail. We mostly have families with children coming to our haunted trail. How can we get more teenagers? We're starting to get some.
That's a big question. We've dealt with this a lot of times because the teenagers are not interested in what the little kids are doing. You got to have the creepy maze or the maze they can get lost in with their girlfriends and boyfriends, or the something geared towards them that's not full of little kids.
Yeah, young
Um,
families and like children are almost like teenager repellent.
yeah,
It's like
Yeah.
you gotta like figure out which one you want.
or
Well,
do nighttime, right? You just do a nighttime event that's a scary event that the
That's
families
the
are not going to
easiest
come
solution.
to.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's a good sign, that she's saying that they're already starting to see some of that trickle in. How can they get more? And I think, I would have a separate event or attraction or something there that has an age limit. Like no one under this age can do that. And then just really lean into that. Because once they know that, oh, like, the little kids this isn't for them, you're going to want to up the scare factor a little bit too. But I think try and,
Well, we
put
yeah,
in.
we don't know how scary it is too, but I mean, or what the event is, but 8 p.m., everything after 8, things get seriously scary.
Mhm.
No one under age
And you
14.
have to make sure that that message is clear because you don't want a
Yeah.
confused family with a bunch of kids
Mhm.
staying later and then being shocked when all the blood and gore comes out.
And
Yeah.
I
But
think
just make it, yeah, because like you said, the teenager repellent is, like the families and little kids. They want to go there and find a corner and make out, and they want to yell and laugh with their friends and do all that kind of stuff. So you have to,
Right.
let them feel
yeah.
like they can do those things.
I think you could also too get a couple testimonials from a few teenagers, that don't mind being in front of the camera. I mean, they're on TikTok all day. So, get a few testimonials. And I think once you have that piece, use that in your marketing. And I think the teens will connect with that. They'll see someone that looks like them or looks like one of their friends or in their peer group and know that that's a place that they can go to.
So our penultimate question is from our friend Dale, and he's asking that will we be putting on our Facebook page all of the Transworld dates and times for the events that FearWorm is sponsoring and doing a Transworld to make it easier for us to schedule our days around.
Mhm.
Yes, the answer to that is yes, and we're definitely looking forward to seeing our Aura friends at Transworld this
Yeah,
year.
As
Dale,
soon
that
as we figure out what the hell we're actually doing at Transworld.
Yeah.
But yes,
Yes.
be on the lookout. I know Laura and Tashana are working all the Facebook events and getting all that lined up for us. So
Oh,
keep an eye
also,
out.
we do have an office. Sorry, Tyler, we have an office, like a little room built into our booth. And so clients or prospects or people who are interested, we can schedule times ahead of time too. That's like, hey, 2 o'clock on Friday, let's schedule half an hour in the booth with you, and whoever needs to be in there to be ready to talk to you can be ready to schedule some time with you.
Yeah, because we understand you and your teams are going to be planning your trans world out, right? You guys probably have your time together to walk the floor. You also have some education you're interested in. Universal is going to be teaching this year at Trans World. So we definitely will have opportunities for you guys to book a slot with us too. So you can come see us at the FearWorm booth.
All
Mhm.
great points. And then our final question from our
Well,
friend Chris is what is, and I'll let everyone go one on one. But what's your favorite memory of all you did in 2022? And I think we should start with Tashana.
So I think my favorite memory of everything that we did in 2022 was just getting to like finally meet you guys in person for the first time at Transworld. I started as a contractor in the fall of 2021, and then I officially came on board in February of this year. So it was really cool to actually finally meet everyone after working with you all for a few months.
That's awesome. We had fun having you there too.
I
And
slide your check in the mail.
oh, well, I'm curious, Tyler, what was your favorite thing?
um, I'm gonna poke fun. Definitely not working with Chris was a great thing. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I love Chris. I'm just poking fun. But I think my favorite thing was really going to Utah. Getting, and of course, Fear Factory in Salt Lake City, great. We love that whole team. They're like family to us. The haunted house was amazing. The shoot there was great. But
Yeah.
Utah was amazing. From the salt flats in western Utah, going then up a mountain to a little town called Brighton, which is a little ski town in the mountains, all in one day. So being like almost looking like a white desert of salt to, you know, 48 degrees in the mountain all in one day. It was amazing. I loved Utah. So that's probably my favorite memory. Laura?
So Ernest, do you want to go last?
Sure. Well, no, it doesn't matter. So I was going to say favorite memory of like an advertising thing we did was that one social post that was so awesome that I
Oh,
told you it's
Midnight
like
Terror.
the most brilliant social post ever.
That's so crazy because that's also my favorite memory. To bring everybody up to speed, what we're talking about
I'm
is
gonna try to find it really quick if I
yeah.
can.
So for Midnight Terror, um, the owner had messaged me and he was kind of like, oh, I'd like to see us put a review out, and that's something we do a lot in our social media marketing. We call it UGC, right? User generated content. We use a lot of really great reviews to show people if they're maybe on the fence about coming to your event, what they can expect through someone else's words. Seeing a review or a testimonial is just so it's like gangbusters when you put it in your marketing. So Justin had messaged me and he was like, can we just get one of these 5-star reviews and put that out? As I was looking through their 5-star reviews, a 1-star review, I scrolled right by and I scrolled back up. I was like, wait a minute, and I read it, and it was a 1-star review, but it was hilarious because this guy was basically saying that they couldn't make it through because Midnight Terror was too scary and they scared his mother to death. And he was so mad because they had to leave the haunt because his mom, couldn't make it through and it was just too scary for his mom, right? So I saw this opportunity and I was kind of like, okay, well, so Midnight Terror is not for your mom. Like, we never said to bring your mom. So I made this post. And so I made a review. It's got the 1-star, really compelling, pretty graphic, right? They kept scaring my mother to death. We left. She couldn't take it. And then if you scroll up just a little bit to the post copy, for everyone except your mom, you know, and then here down at the bottom right above the logo, we never said to bring your mom. Like, we never said to bring your mother to the haunted house. So Justin was a little nervous about this when I first kind of brought it to his attention. He was like, oh, I wanted a 5-star review and you're giving me a 1-star review. He was kind of like, I'm going to ask a couple members of my team, see what they think. I tried to kind of really drive it home because I just could not wait. I was like, we have to, I know this is going to be good. I just had that feeling, right? And for their type of brand and their market, I mean, they are fierce. If you've ever been to Midnight Terror, it is okay that they're edgy. Like, they are in your face. It is not a haunt, for young kids. And so Justin said it was okay. We posted it and it just skyrocketed. Pretty much immediately, I mean, people were in the comments laughing and kind of joking. And so we were poking fun at one visitor. And so it was taking a risk a little bit, but people
He's never
definitely,
coming back anyway or whatever. He's mad, so who cares?
yeah. And I will say, we leaned into it a little bit further too and started offering a $5 discount using code MOMJeans. So we just kind of like further got dialed in to the poking fun at the mom situation. Then we actually had moms in the comments going, well, I'm a mom, I can do it. And they were kind of challenging each other, uplifting each other, and making plans to come to the haunt to prove that moms can indeed get through Midnight Terror. It was perfect. It
The
was
great thing
absolutely
about it is now, of course, a lot of people are like, well, that's great and all, but how did it perform? And it had 300 engagements with almost 60 organic shares and not $1 of advertising budget or boost budget behind it whatsoever. Completely organic, and it just blew up.
Maybe it's an idea starter to use in other markets, right, where it hasn't been found before.
yeah,
The post could be, "I dare you to take your mom through this haunt,"
sure.
and
Yeah.
then just that's because social media is social. It's goofy, right? It's the lady running into the wall is the best TikTok video or whatever. This is one of the best, social posts. Don't overthink it sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And
And something else good that came from this is I think this guy actually saw that we decided to use his review and lean into it. He went to Google and removed his 1-star review. So Midnight Terror actually wins in that case because now their score isn't
he was
affected
probably
by.
getting tired of everybody making fun of him in his
Yeah,
mind.
maybe so, maybe so. I don't know who this person was or what they were thinking, but I'm looking out for my client, and hey, if the 1-star review gets removed in the end of it, I mean, a win-win,
Well, let's wrap up. It's 2:17 Central Time. We're way past time, but
So that was Ernest's, but Laura, what was your favorite thing?
it was
That's
her.
mine too. That's mine too, and I because that was just this thing that hit me, and I was just very grateful that the client leaned into it with me. I mean, he was hesitant at first, but yeah, that's mine too.
Awesome. Well, that's really it, everybody. Stay tuned for the next wormhole. I don't think it's next week.
The 13th. It's on
Yeah,
the
it's the 13th.
13th, and that will be with the Transworld team talking all things Transworld. We're gonna have a lot more Transworld news in that episode. Tashana, Laura, Ernest, thank you for joining.
Yeah, and we should be like Dale. We'll get the stuff listed before then. We'll start
He'll
getting
get an email too, right? He's on our client newsletter, so you'll get that as well in your inbox. But thank you everyone for joining us today. This was such a great wormhole. Have a happy new year because that's right around the corner, and we'll see you in 2023.
All right, everybody, that's it.
All right.
Have a wonderful day. All right, bye.